Welcome to Watch Me Go Broke. Did you see that guy? He was driving that boat at a very unsafe speed, and he wasn't even looking. Then he increased the speed, and look at the result. A crash and burn. Is that a metaphor for today's watch? Well, we'll check that out in just a second. On my wrist today, I am wearing my Omega Seamaster Professional 300M with what Omega described to me as a wonky bezel, but that is a story for another day. And there it is, the Timex Q, one of the most hyped watches of 2019. It's got a 38 millimeter case, a thickness of 11.5 millimeters, a lug width of 18 millimeters, and it boasts an impressive 50 meters of water resistance. We've got a bi-directional bezel, an acrylic or plexiglass crystal, one of those two, I didn't even look. It boasts a Seiko quartz movement. The crown is not screwed down. The dial is a very nice blue color with painted indices, so nothing applied there. You've got a red seconds hand and Mercedes style hands without the Mercedes logo on the hour hand. And in case you ever forget that this watch is quartz, it's written there on the dial for you. There is also a day-date complication at the 3 o'clock position, and on the website it boasts loomed hands. The case shape is really cool. This is a reissue of a watch from the 70s from Timex. So it's got a very 70s case and a 70s bracelet, which is actually pretty cool looking. I would suppose you could call this a screw-down case back because it's got 4 screws that hold it on. And then it's got a battery compartment that you can change the battery yourself without having to take it to a watchmaker. Very nice finishing on the case. It's got polished and brushed throughout. This was the first in a couple of releases for Timex. They've got the Falcon Eye that came out shortly after this release. And there's going to be a Batman automatic style watch releasing in January of 2020, or at least available for pre-order. I have a lot of respect for what Timex is trying to do with these reissues of older releases. It's really neat that they can take a design that they really perfected in the 70s and they can bring it to a more contemporary audience. What do I like about this watch? Well, I love the design. The reissue of the 70s design is cool, and you probably won't see it on everybody's wrist. Well, maybe you will, because I think pretty much everybody bought one of these. I love the dome crystal, a really retro look. I love the colors on this aluminum bezel. They've got the colors similar to the Tudor Black Bay GMT, which has more of a navy blue as opposed to a royal blue, and I think it looks great. And I like that the bezel is a 12-hour bezel, so you can track a second time zone should you choose. I'm a huge fan of painted indices. I like applied indices, don't get me wrong, but there's something about painted indices that just kind of makes it a little more charming. I like the movement inside. It's a Seiko movement, so you know you're going to get reliability for years to come. I really like the bracelet. It's very comfortable. It is a little bit of a hair puller if you're a guy with a hairy wrist like me. And I like the pop of color on the red seconds hand. And that seconds hand is pretty much a signature of Timex. Over the years, they've used the red seconds hand in a lot of their watches. So what do I not like about this? Well, I don't like the price. This watch is way too expensive for what it is. Timex has always been a brand that has been very affordable by anybody. It's a watch that you can just grab and go. If you beat it all to hell or you break it, it doesn't matter. You just throw it away. You get another Timex. They've always been really reliable, and the price on this is just way too high, in my opinion. It's probably about $100 too high. I think whenever you're charging this much for a watch of this quality, you're really losing what Timex is all about, which is the affordability and the just fact that everybody can have a Timex. And that's not the case with this watch. The price point on this is out of reach for some folks, and I just don't think that's really right. I'm worried that they're moving a little bit too fast on jacking up these prices. And especially with the Batman release that's coming out next year, There are rumors online that that's going to be between $250 and $300 for a watch with an NH35 movement. Essentially, it's this same watch, but the NH35 movement inside of it. That's pretty high again for a Timex, and an NH35 movement, that's like, a $40 movement. So, it's a great movement. Don't get me wrong. I have it in a lot of watches, love it, never had a problem. But that is going to be just a bit too much in my opinion. So when this watch came out, it came out kind of in a limited batch, so it was hard to get your hands on. But every few months, Timex has been consistent in releasing them and bringing enough stock for the folks that want to get one. Now, if you didn't get one from Timex, you could go on eBay, but the prices that folks are charging on there, it's probably double the retail price on there. And I've read comments, things like that. People are like, oh, those people, I can't believe they're doing that. They're scalping. Well, guys, guess what? It's called capitalism. All right? There's always going to be somebody that's going to pay a premium price for something like this because they don't want to wait, and people know that. And I think, honestly, good on those guys. If they're able to flip these watches and make a profit, good for them. The person that bought it, hey, they're going to be happy. The person that's selling it, they're going to be happy. So who cares? Why the whining? All in all, I think this is a really great watch. If it was like between $50 and $70, I think this would be really probably one of the greatest watches of all time, really, at that price. And I honestly don't see why it's so expensive. And certainly at this price point, I would not be flipping my boat in the River Thames and swimming around in this thing. Sure, if it was 50 or 70 bucks, I'd be flipping boats all day long. If I broke the watch, who cares? Just throw it away, get a new one. But at this price point, there is no way I'd be taking a dunk in the lake at all. Now, the crystal, I did scratch this crystal already, and I tried to polywatch it out, and it did not work. So over time, I think this crystal is going to get scratched up pretty good. But with the retro design, it might add a little more character to the watch. And there it is on my 7¼ inch wrist. Looks pretty good. Bracelet very comfortable. 38 millimeters is about as low as I'll go for my wrist size. I'm not a small guy, so anything below 38. Occasionally a 36 I can pull off depending on the shape of the case. But 38, that's about as low as I'm going.